It's that time of year again. The weather turns colder, the nights longer, and the ghosts and goblins come out to play. Welcome to spooky season. Here in Connecticut, there are plenty of ghost stories to go around.
And that's true. And to celebrate the Halloween holiday this year, we are taking a look at some of the most haunted locations in the state. And we're starting with some of the most famous paranormal investigators in the country who are based right here in Connecticut.
Now, if you've been scrolling through horror movie titles this Halloween season, you've probably run across The Haunting in Connecticut. Now, it is based on the story of a family who moved into a former Southington funeral home and then experienced paranormal events.
They reached out to Ed and Lorraine Warren, who you may recognize from the Conjuring movies. And the story was eventually debunked, but what you're about to hear is the experience of a young couple who moved into that same house 9 years later.
That was at night, yeah, like middle of the night kind of thing.
When Jim Post and his wife Jackie rented the top 2 floors of a big Southington colonial in 1995, they had no idea of its reputation as a haunted house or of the history that would one day make it the subject of a horror film called The Haunting in Connecticut. As fate would have it, they found out on Halloween when Jim asked the first floor tenant if he wanted to share trick-or-treating.
He just looked at me and said, well, we just don't do Halloween anymore because it got too weird. You know what I mean? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, people would come from all over. And they were lined up down the sidewalk, down the road, wanting to get in.
Later, Jim says that neighbor showed him a tabloid that listed the top haunted houses in the world.
And there's a picture of the front of the house that I just moved into. It looks like a house out of a Norman Rockwell painting.
Strange things began to happen right away. Not terrifying things, things that occasionally happen to all of us, but seem to happen a lot in this house.
There was some missing keys, missing personal items. I looked for like an envelope that I had to mail and it wasn't there.
An envelope with $500 cash inside went missing from a chest full of sweaters and other items. They turned it inside out looking for that money, Jim says, but it was gone. And there were stranger things.
I had some friends coming over to visit me. We were going to go out that evening, and I'm in the shower, and I hear the car pull up. I hear them bound up the stairs, and they start talking to me. And I said, "Hey guys, I'm in the shower." They said, "Okay, we're going to go get some food. We're going to get some drinks. We'll be back in 10 minutes." I got out of the shower, dried off, got dressed. I hear them pull in. They bound up the staircase, and they had the same exact conversation with me. That was like 10 minutes earlier.
He quizzed them about that conversation from 10 minutes earlier, and they were blank.
And they said, "What are you talking? We just got here."
Then there was the night Jackie saw her mother, who had passed away years earlier, hovering in a corner of their bedroom.
She said she saw her kind of floating in the corner there, watching over, and then she recognized her flannel nightgown that she always wore.
Jim says he didn't see Jackie's mother. He just saw the curtains move for no reason. But the scariest story Jim has to tell actually happened to a friend who was helping him paint a room. One night that friend stayed behind alone to work while Jim and Jackie went out.
He was painting, and he just felt a presence. The back of his, hair on his neck went up, looked around, nobody's there. He started painting, and then he felt actually like pressure, something pushing him against the wall. He said he got out of there so fast. He ran down the stairs. He said he felt like he was going down an up escalator. Got in his car, pulled around, and he said the transformer exploded in the street.
Still, Jim says the episodes he experienced were mischievous, even playful, but not malevolent, and he wouldn't necessarily call the house haunted.
In my mind, there was definitely some spiritual energy, but as far as, evil things that we see in the movies, I would have to say no.
And Jim's cousin, who was a medium, had a similar take, but with an interesting twist.
She said, "I'm picking up especially a female presence, and she likes you," and she points right at me, right? And she said, "I think she's trying to get you and your wife into a little bit of a tiff." So
not only do we have a haunted house here, we got a love triangle going. All right.
Exactly. So I said, "Oh man, I don't know if I can't deal with that."
Old houses aren't the only thing in Connecticut said to house a spirit or two. There are also plenty of haunted inns.
Yeah, from a haunted room at the Yankee Pedlar in Torrington to a bed and breakfast in Preston, where some of the guests come from beyond the grave. Ooh.
Spooky.
Our team checks in on places where some never checked out.
Well, the Yankee Pedlar Inn has been closed for more than a decade. And even in its silence, it hasn't been forgotten. And some believe that the spirit of the hotel's original owner, Alice Conley, still lingers in room 353. And that has attracted locals and paranormal enthusiasts from all across New England. The mysteries surrounding the Yankee Pedlar Inn continue to captivate, especially paranormal enthusiasts like the Massachusetts-based the Dartmouth Anomaly Research Team and the Worcester Paranormal Investigators who toured the hotel in 2021.
It sounded like another voice, but I'm just trying to fast forward it to around 2.
According to the legend, people have claimed to hear footsteps on the second floor, and some people say they have seen the original owner's rocking chair move on its own, and perhaps the most common claim, former owner of the Yankee Pedlar, Sanjay Patel, told Fox 61 at one point. The people say they saw shadows and felt a presence in room 353.
There's one room upstairs that no one would clean by themselves, and that's room 353, which was actually the residence of the colonies. And 2 girls used to have to clean that because they found doors closing on themselves and shadows and things like that.
Former employee Katie Kenny remembers how many guests even avoided staying in that room.
Some people think that it's cool, other people think that it's scary and they don't want any part of it. They don't want to hear about it. Or I've even I've had a guest like, oh, I don't want that room because somebody said blah, blah, blah.
But what happened in room 353 and why there out of the 52 rooms? I met with Mark McKieran, Executive Director for the Torrington Historical Society, to explore the deep-rooted history behind all these claims. But first, he says, it's important to know that the original owners Frank and Alice Conley built the Yankee Pedlar, originally named the Conley Inn, to be one of the most modern buildings of its time, with modern plumbing in each room. The Victorian Elegance Hotel officially opened on July 31st of 1891.
Well, it was the center of social life in Torrington for a long time, from the time the Conleys built it in 1891 until it closed, maybe 15 years ago. It was the place you went to for a good meal, and when you had company come to visit and they needed a place to stay, it was always a first-class place.
And this is one of the few photos that still exist today of Frank and Alice outside the Conley Inn. The hotel operated for nearly 20 years until they both died in 1910.
And tragically, Alice only lived about 4 more months after that when she passed away, probably from a broken heart. I'm sure during that period changes were made, and it was probably then that Mrs. Conley's favorite rocking chair was relegated to the attic. And that chair was in the attic from probably 1912 until the end of the 20th century. Because of the ghost stories associated with the chair, people respected the chair and they left it there as Mrs. Conley's favorite chair.
Although several owners have managed the Yankee Pedlar since the Conley's death, some believe their spirits are still watching over what once was not only their dream business, but their home. In this video, investigators seem to have caught something on the audio recorder.
You come right over to this little device. If you can see me wave my hand, you just go over to that device and you can tap on the microphone, you can tell me your name.
An investigator seemed to have received an intelligence presence after all.
I want to go back into that spot where I heard you possibly moan. Can you please do that again for me?
McKieran says the inn is more than just stories. It contains memories and a true legacy that will live on for more decades to come.
But people celebrated weddings and anniversaries, bar mitzvahs, all kinds of things at the Yankee Pedlar. So it's just a really important community center. This was a lifelong dream for the Conleys to have an inn like this, and it just happened to be built in Torrington. And perhaps, their spirits are still there looking over their lifelong dream.
And while the Yankee Pedlar Inn waits for a new chapter, it seems like both Frank and Alice Conley may have gotten their wish after all, to build an up-to-date facility to put Torrington on the map and continue to attract thousands of visitors from across the country. But the difference is, they just may have never left. In Torrington, for Fox 61, I'm Valerie Moravi.
This remote cemetery in Preston is more than 300 years old. A woman fixed up a nearby bed and breakfast 3 decades ago and quickly realized some of the spirits were already inside the house.
The house is haunted and I'll prove it to you after breakfast.
One side of Captain Grant's Inn.
This is the east living room.
To the other.
This is the west living room. And it has the see-through fireplace. And when it's cold in the winter, we have breakfast with a fire.
Unseen spirits are waiting to reveal themselves to guests of the 271-year-old bed and breakfast that was built by Captain William Grant.
People come here and they have no idea the place is haunted, and then they learn it's haunted. Oh my gosh.
Carol Matsumoto has owned the inn for 30 years and first got the idea to buy it when she moved in next door after a divorce.
I was looking out my kitchen window one day and said, I'm gonna buy that and make it into a bed and breakfast.
During the 15 months it took to restore the inn, Matsumoto says she discovered it was haunted, but didn't want to scare away prospective guests.
I hid the fact that it was haunted for 4 years. This New York City detective was staying, and he came down at 7 o'clock on Sunday, wanted his money back, and said that my husband and I were the 2 rudest innkeepers he had ever met.
The jig was up, and Matsumoto had to come clean.
Daniel Whipple walks around in the attic, and he stomps around.
Why do you think that this place is haunted? Do you think it's for sure haunted?
Of course it is. Yes. If you were to stay here for, let's say, a week, oh yeah, you'd know that it's haunted.
So for 3 decades, and even to this day, Matsumoto says the ghosts of Captain Grant's Inn continue to interact with guests.
3 people this weekend heard a loud bang in the hallway. And then the outside door came flying in. And one of the women heard, "Mom," and she said, it sounded like a child. And I said, maybe a 5-year-old child? She said, oh yeah, it was a little child. I said, well, that's Deborah Adams.
Matsumoto says some of the spirits may have once lived in the house like Captain Grant himself, while others drifted in from nearby cemeteries that date back to the 1600s.
There are a lot of spirits here, and I know the names of about 7 or 8 of them.
Why do you think that this is such a populous sort of place for spirits?
They like it here. I don't have any other, I've asked that, and that's what I get. They like it here.
Matsumoto has even written a book about all that she's learned from the spirits, and believes all of our souls become one when we die.
The spirits are in the dimension of time.
She says spirits should not be feared, and that her inn only has well-meaning ones.
But the spirits are not bad spirits, they're good spirits.
For the majority of her life, Matsumoto never gave the afterlife a second thought.
I learned that I could talk to the spirit world. I learned it when I was 60 years old, of all things. And I know a lot about the spirit world.
Now, it's been the highlight of her earthly existence.
I believe that this house picked me. I didn't pick it.
Spirits might stick around forever, but bed and breakfasts are not. According to Matsumoto, 3 decades ago, there were more than 40 bed and breakfasts in New London County. Now, there are fewer than 10. In Preston, Tim Lateau, Fox 61.
They call it the Gris, but after nearly 250 years, some say the Griswold Inn holds more than just history. Some believe it holds spirits that refuse to leave.
It's New England. Everything's haunted in New England.
Built in 1776, the same year America declared independence, the inn was once a refuge for sailors, shipbuilders, and soldiers. The legends say a few guests may have checked in and never left.
It's like going back in time, and you can kind of, you look up at the ceilings and you look at the wood beams and you can kind of envision all of the people and the different meetings and the joyous family occasions, and it just seems like a very special place that is cloaked in and just dripping with history.
Over the years, the Grizz has seen it all, from wars and recessions to the Great Depression. And co-owner Joan Paul says even Prohibition didn't slow them down.
We were here through all of that. We survived that. Recessions, the Depression, Prohibition, that was a really tricky time, as you could imagine. Turns out Yankee ingenuity won out because we were a speakeasy during the time.
Next year marks a milestone, 250 years of continuous operation.
It's a really special place, and as we have America's birthday coming up next year, it's also our birthday, 250 years of continuous operation. It's huge news for somebody in the hospitality business, because being in the restaurant business, hotel business, all of that, it's not easy just to begin with.
And while the inn's historic charm draws visitors from all over, it's the ghost stories that keep some guests talking. Kate Savage was a server at the inn for about 3 years.
It was really fun to get to work day in and day out in such a historical institution. I don't know for sure that I experienced any paranormal activity, but I do know that there were stories here and there. Every once in a while, glasses would fall off the table, and I do know that we would attribute that sometimes to the ghost of Clarence. He was the ghost who was often accused of having pushed the glasses off the table so much that they named a cocktail after him a few years ago. So supposedly a young man who had maybe passed away in the inn.
Some describe hearing footsteps in empty hallways or faint music coming from the tap room when no one's there.
And that's where I babysat for one night. I was kind of spooked by the ambiance. I don't know, it was, fine, but I remember I was really cold, but that's probably just because it's an old building. And it was just kind of like a little bit creepy.
Of course, not everyone buys into the legends.
So nothing happened at your honeymoon up in the Griswold Inn? Nothing scary?
No, that was a pretty scary night, but there was nothing haunted about it.
I spoke with several people who say they've never heard any hauntings, but that's not the case for everyone.
My friend mentioned it to me on Tuesday when they were visiting, and they were like, yeah, that's that haunted hotel. I was like, I had no idea that it was haunted.
As for the owners, they prefer to focus on the inn's legacy rather than its legends.
I mean, certainly guests have reported various things, and but nothing has ever been verified. We have 250 years of history. Who knows what's happened here in a lot of those years, but yeah.
Whether it's the echo of centuries past or something truly paranormal, one thing's for sure. The Griswold Inn holds on to its secrets. In Essex, Priscilla Meza, Fox 61.
Employees at the inn tell me they have seen different ghost sightings. For one employee, it was an out-of-body experience.
One morning going into the kitchen, I walked through the captain, or the captain walked through me, however you want to look at it.
That's how Robert Wiley described seeing Captain Daniel Packer. Wiley does maintenance around the inn full-time and says that's just one of many experiences he's had.
There was one morning I came in very early, 4:30, 5 o'clock, and went upstairs. I don't generally turn the lights on. I just have my flashlight in my hand, just checking everything, making sure to keep moving through. For whatever reason that morning I stopped and looked up. In one of these two books is a story of a handprint showing up on the window. A handprint on the window that I had never seen before.
Captain Packer built the inn more than 250 years ago on the Mystic River. Decades later, it's now a restaurant with what some say is a haunted flair, thanks to the captain and a young girl named Ada. She lived nearby and died at the inn at just 7 years old. Now, employees say she likes to play tricks by making this chandelier flicker on and off, as well as this fireplace.
I think she just likes this place a lot and likes to play jokes, and as long as you talk to her in a joking voice, I'm a believer in ghosts. I guess you just have to, be a believer and don't let it scare you.
Heidi Talmadge, a manager at the inn, says past employees also experienced what they describe as paranormal activity.
Lawrence was standing here, the front door, I heard footsteps running up and down the 3rd floor stairs. In the dining room, Sean also heard the footsteps. Sean went out to check the stairwell and there was no one there.
That was written in 2008. One of many entries in their ghost book from guests. Wiley showed me images, and in this one you can see a ghost-like figure which he believes is Ada. Guests have even shared their stories with Geraldina Del Franco, who's a bartender and waitress.
One was a medium, and she said that the little girl followed her all the way into the Packer, and then she went upstairs and she was chit-chatting with her. Another situation was up on the 3rd floor in the smaller room, which is was the old Kristen's room way back then, and there was a gentleman waiting for his wife to come meet him for dinner, and he was in the room sitting, and he asked me if I saw the little girl going through the bathroom door, and I was like, no, and I'm trying not to, but he was convinced that that was what just took place.
Many have said they've heard footsteps on this stairwell, and if that doesn't freak you out, come to the inn and find out for yourself. In Mystic, Kay Pattyfoot, Fox 61.
Now, one of the best things about these types of stories is uncovering the local history at the center.
And there's a lot of that here in Connecticut. Haunted cemeteries, a haunted theater, even the old State House here in Hartford, and all of them a little piece of local legend that keeps people coming back.
Have you heard the one about the ghost dog in Meriden?
Here in the hanging hills of Meriden, the steep and curvy cliffs aren't the only things that frighten hikers. Tales of a black ghost dog also cause them to steer clear. But the people who claim to have seen it are no longer here to tell the tale. So how do we know if it's real or not? Let's ask the Meriden Historical Society. Every folklore,
Thing of Meriden.
urban legend, and tall tale of Meriden is stored behind the shelves at the Meriden Historical Society.
So there's the whole story.
Director of the society, Virginia Jewell, went back in time to find the first document of arguably Meriden's most infamous legend, the Black Dog.
This is how I met the black dog for the first time, for joy. All right.
The book she's reading is from 1898, written by author and geologist W.H.C. Pynchon about his first time seeing the dog.
Spring visit to West Peak that gave me a desire.
For his friend Herbert Marshall, though, it would be the third and last time.
I looked at Marshall. His face was white, and he steadied himself. I did not believe it before. I believe it now, and it is the 3rd time. I stood by all that was left of my friend. He was dead. His body was already stiff.
The legend goes as saying, see the dog once for joy, twice for sorrow, and 3 times for death. Good enough to make people steer clear of the hanging hills, right?
That seems to be what that story is, which would make me never walk in the West Hills if it was me at that moment in time.
But there's some who were oblivious to the legend, wandering the hills for the first time, like couple Sam and Shayla.
Connecticut is the most haunted state. I've heard that is true, so I believe it. I totally believe it. I believe it.
Yeah, I think we better watch out if we see any dogs now. If we see any dogs while we're up here, we gotta watch out.
But then there's Tristan Mason, frequent hiker of the Hanging Hills, who wasn't so sure about the legend until 10 years ago.
My wife and I were walking down the roadside of the trail. We did see a little black dog. I don't know if it was necessarily the black dog. The weird thing about it is it did look kind of blurry. Now, it might have been just like the conditions of the day out, it might have been just like a hazy day, but we didn't have any luck or sorrow or death, obviously.
He saw a dog, but nothing happened to him.
There's a story about
So maybe the legend was told wrong all along.
What if the black dog wasn't evil, but what if he was trying to warn us about something, and that's hidden deep within the hills?
So is the dog good, evil, or something in between?
For me, if there is such a creature, I like to think that, maybe it just peacefully lives here, watching all of us go by.
I guess one will truly never know its nature until fate aligns. You'll just have to wait until you see him for the 3rd time.
He's up here. He's up here. He's up here. He's up here somewhere. He guards the castle. He's the castle guard.
So the question remains, do you believe in the ghost dog of the Hanging Hills? Would you take a gamble to see it once? For good luck, the hills are open for anyone who wants to try, but don't say we didn't warn you. In Meriden, Jamel Johnson, Fox 61. And keep a leash on your dogs.
Now you see me, and now you don't.
Follow me and I'll take you on a ghost eye view of the Schubert Theater where spirits roam these halls and walls. Every day, people walk right by more than 100 years of history here. Anthony Lupinacci jokes he knows that history well because he was around for all of it.
This is what our original marquee used to look like.
Well, he's not as old as the history on the walls.
So follow me.
You have to give the guy props. He knows his history.
So every time we have a show here, the shows actually sign in with their logos, and the cast will put their autographs on these logos.
Traditions that set the stage for the theater's reputation. A reputation that involves a spirit or two.
Oh, one of the ghosts wanted to remind me to point out our ghost light. So even if you come here at 3 o'clock in the morning, this light is here and it's lit, so that the stage is lit for the ghosts to tour around.
And to all the spirit skeptics out there,
are there ghosts? And I'm going to say definitely. But they're not ghosts in the way that we think of scary ghosts. They're spirits. It's the spirit of live theater. It's the people who were here, who were fortunate enough, like Marlon Brando, who made his premiere right here on the stage.
Right here on the stage and right here in this building. Pay attention and you might get a glimpse of the ghosts.
Like our elevators will just open. Like you'd be walking through and you'll hear ding.
They might startle you, but they don't bother anyone. They come in peace. And Lupinacci says he understands why they can't stay away from the Schubert Theater.
How could they not want to come and visit us after all of the wonderful things they experienced right here on this stage?
If this stage is where the magic of live theater happens, these walls are where the spirits keep that magic alive. And you can come by to visit the ghosts and see a show while you're here. They have many productions all year round. Reporting in New Haven, Solene Air, Fox 61.
The old State House in Hartford is said to be haunted, and I'm here to investigate. It's got 230 years of spooky opportunity and some pretty cool history too. Come on, let's go check it out. No, I'm not the Joe you may have seen in the window of the old State Building. That would be a different Joe. His full name was Joseph Stewart, and he was born just a few years before me, in 1753. He was a minister and a painter. He grew up in Massachusetts, and he moved to Hartford with his family in his early 40s. In 1796, he asked to open a museum of curiosities in the newly built State House. Rebecca Tabor with Connecticut Democracy Center knows all about the history of this building and Stewart's museum.
Museums of curiosities, cabinets of curiosities were very popular in the late 18th, early 19th century, and to know that he had a two-headed pig, he had a two-headed calf in this space, a narwhal tusk and shells, and you also see animals as well mounted.
Stewart also used his museum to display some of his paintings. The current museum is a recreation of what his museum would have looked like more than 200 years ago. Stewart died in 1822, and the things in his collection were given away. Historians did their best to recreate the museum by using archives and advertisements Stewart posted in local newspapers. Some of Stewart's original paintings are displayed in the museum today. Tabor also explained some of the paranormal activity people say they've seen.
There have been numerous reports of seeing the shadowy figure of Stewart in the windows of where his museum used to be.
That's not the weirdest thing that's happened in the old State House either. Tabor says colleagues have told her about a suspected paranormal event that happened before she worked there in 2001.
At night, the old State House is locked up. You do a final walk, you check that everything's all secure. Staff came in one morning and they found all of the desks and chairs in the middle of the house chamber, blocking the aisle and everything. These are not light desks. I think they're about 40 pounds. It took 2 staff members about 2 hours to put them back in place.
The Ghost Hunters filmed an episode of their show in the old State House in 2009. Tabor says their ghost machines detected paranormal activity. She says they heard door handles turning and the sound of a woman sighing. Tabor hasn't had any strange experiences herself, but she's not surprised that people have.
I do like to think of our former legislators as benevolent presences here, and hopefully approving of what we do to try and teach people about state government and have them get involved civically.
Now, we didn't see any ghosts, but we did learn about some of the historical significance regarding the old State House. Staff here encourage you to come check it out. Maybe next time on The Ghosts. For now in Hartford, Joe Monty, Fox 61.
Down a small dirt road in Burlington, you may come across an old abandoned cemetery. Now, many of the headstones there have been either vandalized or destroyed completely, including the original headstone of Elizabeth Paulmiter, also known as the Green Lady. If you come down here on a damp and foggy night, you may see her spirit fully formed in a green haze. And if you're lucky enough, she'll smile at you before she disappears.
But we don't believe that that's her actual resting place. We believe that the stone that was desecrated on her grave is actually located a little bit away from that actual spot.
Burlington Historical Society members Stacy Glastry and James Sanford took us to the Green Lady's resting place. They say this urban legend started as a tragic romance.
It's a romantic story, and people love those kind of stories. They love seeing the romance. They experience loss themselves. So it's easy to associate with the lovelorn wife going out after her lost husband and getting lost in the storm. It's a tragedy.
The story starts with a spring snowstorm that took people by surprise back in April of 1800. Elizabeth's husband, Benjamin Paulmiter, ran into town to pick up supplies to get his family through the unexpected winter weather. While Benjamin was in town, snow continued to fall at an alarming rate. He chose to stay in town and wait for the snow to let up, and as time passed, Elizabeth began to worry about where her husband was. Elizabeth quickly bundled up in a coat and boots. Underneath her winter gear, she wore her favorite green dress. She left her home to search for him. Elizabeth lost her way off the path, not able to see the route in front of her. She slipped, fell, and drowned in the water of a nearby swamp. Now some say her spirit walks the grounds of the Seventh-day Baptist Cemetery, still looking for her husband. On some nights, you may be able to see Paulmiter's fully embodied spirit. On other nights, she presents as a green mist, or you may see the light from her lantern.
Well, there's a lot of claims. You know, people say they've heard disembodied voices. They say they've seen Elizabeth's figure moving in the misty fog in the area. They say they've seen a lantern moving about the area at night, you know, seemingly with nobody holding it. So there's a lot of different claims about what people believe they have seen.
On one Halloween night, Burlington native Micah James says he caught a glimpse of Elizabeth Paulmiter.
I remember there was one time we were here on Halloween, and I don't know if it was the Green Lady, but we did see, like, in one of the corners, we saw something green kind of glowing, and it wasn't like a flashlight. It wasn't like a normal, like, Halloween cold that you feel. It felt cold. Something was definitely there, yeah.
On a separate visit, James said he felt a similar aura. He said he took a picture that proves the spirit exists, but it's nowhere to be found.
I was like taking pictures of it, and all of a sudden felt like someone walked right through me as I'm taking the picture. And so, like, I look at the picture and there's like a little, like, blurry outline of someone.
Many people say that Elizabeth's spirit can't move on because she's still looking for her husband. Others say that her spirit is perpetually lost in the snowstorm. Either way, if you come here and see a green mist or you see the silhouette of a woman in a green dress, just know that you're in the presence of the Green Lady. In Burlington, Glenn Kittle, Fox 61.
Norwich State Hospital closed down in 1996. It's guarded by a fence, but that doesn't erase the memories people have here or stop people from coming and exploring what's inside.
In this family-owned diner in Jewett City,
You want that?
you'll find someone who is hardworking,
Both waters.
brave,
Just little, like spirits messing around, I guess, but nothing someone couldn't handle.
and adventurous.
I did have quite a bit of visits to the hospital and the administration building and the nurses' houses and all that.
Alexis Lang Lois spent many weekends going to the Norwich State Hospital.
It was 2021, and I went with my friends because I had never been to an abandoned building before.
Multiple buildings sit alongside the road in Preston and Norwich. The first one was built in 1904. Lang Lois's grandfather, Gary, used to work in the powerhouse.
We couldn't walk around outside with the patients or anything. We hardly ever see any patients.
In 1996, everything was shut down.
And I was just lucky enough to find a job at DOT in Canterbury.
Leaving nothing but decay, broken windows, locks to keep curious guests out.
I remember the first time I went there, it was like probably 6 of us. We did hop the fence.
And rumors.
I heard that a lot of people experience like doors closing by themselves, or they'd hear footsteps. It wasn't necessarily spooky for me. I didn't have any experience, like spooky experience at first.
That was until Alexis found something in 2023 that made her never want to come back.
There was a bloody pentagram on the ground, and I don't know if it was real blood or fake, if someone was just messing with us.
She says she felt uneasy when she explored the buildings and its tunnels.
There was always something heavy on my shoulders every time I'd go there. It was never, I couldn't walk without turning my back to make sure something wasn't there. That was just instinct for me.
Out of everything on this 400-acre campus, the houses freaked her out the most.
The houses was more eerie for me because I'm just like, wow, people lived here and had a life here, because I went into a bedroom and there was children's wallpaper peeled off. And the houses were in pretty good shape, so that was scarier for me.
She's not the only one.
Going into the newer buildings looks like you could be in a hospital that's still open. And to me, that was, in a weird way, creepier.
Zachary Lamont used to visit the abandoned hospital.
I remember distinctly being in the tunnel somewhere and going up some steps into one of the buildings, and that room just being very, very cold.
And also heard stories about the possible ghosts in these walls.
I remember speaking with some of the security that used to work there, and one man told me that he was inside one of the buildings looking for intruders and felt a hand brush his head.
It's unclear if it was truly a ghost, but Preston and Norwich officials hope to leave this haunted past behind. Plans are in place to demolish the buildings. Even though Alexis' thrilling experience is over, the memories will live on in her camera roll.
Well, this was me posing in the hospital, but like I said, we went here every single weekend, never got a break. So I wish I took more photos, but it was more in the moment. I was living in the moment.
Leaders tell me they want to develop something new and fresh here that provides a gateway to Norwich. And who knows, maybe the ghosts will stick around. In Preston, Kayla Cade, Fox 61.
In a town known for money and mansions, plenty of stories remain under the surface in Greenwich. The modern-day downtown served as a backdrop to one of those tragic tales, filled with love, loss, and a question about what happened to turn a tune sour. Boo! Oh, I'm sorry. Did I scare you? On the outside, the Bruce Museum may look like your typical art and history museum. But local legend and reports of ghosts in nearby woods have many calling this area one of the most haunted places in the country. The story first starts in the late 1800s. An Irish immigrant woman worked as a maid in a nearby neighborhood. There, she met a piper. The two fell in love and spent countless hours in Bruce Park, near the Bruce Mansion, which later became what we now know as the Bruce Museum. The piper serenaded his love. It was a quintessential romance of the time. The two were set to be married. That was the dream after all. But unfortunately, that is where this love story turns into a tragedy. Out of nowhere, the piper suddenly disappeared. A heartbroken maid returned to Ireland, where she later caught tuberculosis and passed away, never knowing what happened to her love. Throughout the 1900s, some visitors to the museum say they saw two figures near the museum, a man who was playing the flute and a woman who was adoring the songs he played, which potentially gives hope that these two lovers, torn apart by mystery, were at last reunited in death. Museum staff tell me that there hasn't really appeared to be many ghost sightings in the past few years. And maybe it just had to do with construction on the museum that perhaps scared the ghosts away. At least for now. In Greenwich, Stephen Reels, Fox 61.
I think after reading about the hauntings, I'm even more on edge. So I will report back if we see any ghosts. But right now I'm just seeing some really cool older tombstones and learning about the people that used to live here before us. So hopefully that's all that happens.
From 1825 to 2025, Union Cemetery has been the final resting place of hundreds who have called Easton home. But it's also home to folklore, full of women in white and red eyes. Visitors have reported seeing a lady in white who haunts the yard. Many believe she died in childbirth and only appears to children. There's also been reports of red eyes in the tree line and decades full of local lore. The cemetery has been a hotspot for ghost hunters, including Ed and Lorraine Warren, who the Conjuring movies are based off of. But I must not have had their spiritual skills.
So I did a lap, learned a lot about the people that used to live here. I also noticed that some of these gravestones go all the way back to the 1820s, which is just amazing to see. But I don't know much more about the history, so time to go talk to somebody that does. Let's go.
Okay, so my name is Elizabeth Boyce, and I am the president of the Easton Historical Society.
Boyce says there's no short supply of thrill seekers in Easton cemeteries, but she hopes ghost hunters keep in mind the cemetery's role as a final resting place.
So that's another reason why when people go there looking for white ladies or red eyes, we ask that they be mindful of that people's loved ones are there.
The Easton Historical Society works hard to protect and conserve Easton's many historic cemeteries, and it's historians like Frank Pagliaro that keep the stories alive.
If you start at the northern end of it, those are where the oldest stones are, where there aren't even actually stones for everybody. There's just some of them are just field stones.
So if you stop by, there may not be a lady in white to say hi, but there's no short supply of history waiting for you. In Easton, Victoria Anderson, Fox 61.
People say the ghost of a former Connecticut governor still comes to work on the occasion. Staff just aren't expecting it when he does. The first encounter with his spirit goes all the way back to the 1920s.
The lieutenant governor was working late one night in his office up on the 3rd floor. And the story is he felt the room grow cold. There was a door opening, and supposedly when he looked up from his desk, there was the ghost of Governor William Buckingham.
After that experience, Kim Fabrizio says the lieutenant governor couldn't get out of the building fast enough, and that he never stayed at work past 5 p.m. ever again. That was the first and last encounter with the governor for a while.
60 years later, a staffer was working up in that space, felt the same situation. The door opened, he knew nobody was in the space, thought he saw Governor Buckingham, and I think he tried to make a point of getting out of the building as early as he could as well.
There haven't been any known encounters with Buckingham since the 1980s. Interestingly enough, the former governor died in 1875, about 3 years before the Capitol building was finished in 1878. It may seem strange that he haunts a building he never worked in, but the two encounters happened on the same floor, in the same room, and it's no surprise where. Room 324, the Senate Republican Caucus Room. Governor Buckingham was a Republican who served during the Civil War and was a strong supporter of President Lincoln.
Extremely supportive of the Connecticut troops during the Civil War. And one of the things he did was donate a great deal of the money the troops needed at the time to buy their uniforms and supplies.
A large bronze statue of the governor from the early 1880s sits surrounded by Civil War battle flags at one of the entrances to the Capitol building. While some might see hauntings as creepy, Capitol staff say they think Governor Buckingham would be a good guy to have around, alive or in spirit.
He would be a good ghost, a friendly ghost. My understanding is he had a pretty good sense of humor, so maybe appropriate that his ghost haunts the building.
We didn't see any ghosts on this hunt, but I gotta say, the inside of the Capitol is absolutely amazing. It's filled with incredible history everywhere you look. If you haven't seen the inside yet, it's definitely worth reaching out to Kim and scheduling a tour. For now in Hartford, Joe Monty, Fox 61.
Charles Island right behind me here was once a resort, but it eventually closed down in the 1800s. Now locals tell tales of spirits and curses on the island. During low tide, some people make the dangerous walk along the sandbar to get an up-close look at the supposedly cursed island.
It's spiritual out there. There were several tribes that have a curse on the island for anyone who tries to take the gold.
Ron Benito believes there's something chilling about Charles Island. He has visited many times over the years. He says being on the island gave him an uneasy feeling, as if he was not alone there.
There have been instances, if you read the history of it, where some people haven't returned. You don't want to be there at night. It's pretty scary.
Native Americans once lived on the 14-acre island before it was given to a man named Charles Deal to use as a tobacco plantation. Locals say Charles Island has been home to unsuccessful business ventures and even a convent, leaving spirits along the way. The island is now the property of the state, part of Silver Sand State Park, and still attracts visitors with the possibility of hidden treasure. Locals say the treasure was buried by Captain Kidd, a Scottish pirate in the 16th century.
He came on this coast and he found Charles Island and he buried his treasure here. And the legend is that he buried $1 million in gold.
Locals say several curses have been put on the island to protect the hidden treasure.
I do believe that there are spirits on that island.
Silas Simone lives in Milford and is a horror movie producer. He's heard the spooky tales of the island since he was a child.
And I remember hearing stories of people who've gone there and, first of all, did not make it back.
Stories of odd occurrences and spirits on the island still frighten him to this day.
There's also the people who've made it there, made it back, but did not make it much longer.
The island is also not easy to get to. It's only accessible during low tide on a sandbar. However, the journey there could be treacherous. Sharp and slippery rocks cover the sandbar, almost as if it's a natural barrier between the park and the possible spirits that haunt the island. State officials say you can't walk on the sandbar when it's covered in water. Several people have gotten stuck, and in 2017, one person drowned. Is Charles Island truly haunted? Simone believes so.
I do believe that there might be something unnatural that could follow you home if you make it across.
I'm not brave enough to make the trip out there, but if you are, as you roam the island, be aware that you might not be alone. In Milford, Alicia Hercules, Fox 61.
You might not know it, but of all the local haunts across Connecticut, New Haven ranks towards the top, and every year they make efforts to amplify that.
People have seen dolls levitate in the basement, shaking hallways. We try to go there and find out.
An underground history in New Haven is unearthed every Halloween season.
A lot of spooky ghost stories, haunted cemeteries.
You might know Colin Kaplan for his pizza prowess.
Halloween season comes and we really like to get to the dark side of things.
His famous food tours have become a main staple for city tourism. But each October, as a New Haven historian, Colin also sheds light on a darker side of the Elm City. He offers a by appointment only, walk back in time Halloween tour.
One of the things that I love about New Haven is its history, and its history includes a lot of people who aren't here anymore and a lot of buildings that actually become haunted. This cemetery was chartered in 1797.
Our first stop,
they started bringing headstones over here from the green,
is the hallowed Grove Street Cemetery.
Having a cemetery gate that says the dead shall be raised is quite unusual, and we try to reveal the truths behind it. It really does say, will you see your dead again?
And apparently hauntings in New Haven have appeared in the city center. Inside the old Union Trust building.
There's a group of child ghosts that are causing mayhem in the halls, in the basement, dolls flotating, garbage cans levitating.
And if you head south and go beyond the gates of the Evergreen Cemetery, the local lore endures.
So Midnight Mary is supposed to be a ghost who haunts this area, this cemetery, and she was buried alive.
And you got that right. I wasn't coming here at night.
This is perhaps one of the most haunted grave sites anywhere in Connecticut. This is Midnight Mary's grave, which includes a saying, "The people shall be troubled at midnight and pass away." A curse, or is it something else?
As All Hallows Eve approaches, more and more people come to pay respects to Midnight Mary. and to find that seasonal spirit.
And that's part of the fun, is to bring real history back to what we think is lore. Are the ghosts real? Maybe they are. It's completely haunted New Haven.
In New Haven, Jim Altman, Fox 61.
Well, that about wraps it up for Fox 61's Most Haunted. And I don't know about you, but I have a lot more places to explore.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much for joining us here on Fox 61 Plus. You can find all of our most haunted stories here and on fox61.com. Until next time, happy haunting.